I know they're going back and forth.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they would matter. If he wants to make some money, Floyd want to make some money.
It's not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started talk. I would have tell you, I'm not just interested. He make no sense for me. It's not my what I'm looking at right now.
How many of those shots from Francis can you take? Tyson Fury, if you're talking clean, Tyson Fury only took one. Everything else Tyson was able to roll with. Big Francis only had to hit him one time. Like, that's a compelling story in my opinion.
Mike Tyson weighed in on the potential matchup between Jake Paul and Francis Ngannou, admitting that while it might not be the most balanced or logical fight, it would undoubtedly attract massive attention and generate huge revenue. Tyson pointed out that the curiosity surrounding who would win makes it an exciting spectacle. He believes the unpredictable nature of the fight would draw fans from both the boxing and MMA worlds, amplifying its appeal even further.
You're such a big MMA fan. You know, I've been to UFC fights and I see you sitting octagon side. I can't help but wonder if you had gotten into MMA as a young man, as a teenager, instead of boxing, how do you think your career would have went, Mike?
Hey, I had no idea, but I'm really enthused about the MMA, you know, because I had no idea that Rafael, who's from a background of MMA, would know so much about boxing. I had no idea. You know, only thing I know about great boxing is the great Ed Joffre, who was a legendary boxer who happened to be Brazilian, but never knowing, if not being conscious that he would know that much about boxing.
Do you think you could have learned all the wrestling moves and the takedown defense and could have been a champion in something like the UFC?
I could have done all that stuff. But once someone stepped on my foot, I would have tapped out. My feet are my weak spot. You step on my feet, I'm gonna tap out.
Francis Ngannou himself has expressed that even being offered a fight with Jake Paul is a complete disrespect to his name and legacy. He explains that Jake hasn't earned the right to share a ring with someone who has been at the pinnacle of combat sports. Ngannou adds that this type of offer is not only insulting, but also highlights how far entertainment has drifted from the essence of real fighting.
Think about you to fight Jake, to replace Javante. I'm like, who's Jake? You know, like, I was so confused, you know, like, I wasn't expecting that at all. And he said, yeah, Jake Paul, you know, he's fighting. And I'm like, no, bro, come on. Don't disrespect me like that. And then they even say like, they even come out after and say, and what if the number are good? He sent out some number. I'm like, it's not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started talk. I would have tell you, I'm not just interested. He make no sense for me. It's not my what I'm looking at right now.
Chael Sonnen reacted to the possibility of Jake Paul facing Francis Ngannou with both amusement and curiosity. He called it a fascinating matchup, not because it's competitive, but because it would reveal just how durable Jake really is. Sonnen joked that Tyson Fury, one of the toughest heavyweight champions in the world, was dropped by a single clean shot from Ngannou. If Fury, who outweighs Jake and has years of experience in heavyweight boxing, could barely survive Ngannou's power, then Jake could be in serious danger. Sonnen added that Jake's confidence and willingness to face opponents far above his level is entertaining, but fighting someone like Francis is a different challenge entirely. He emphasized that Jake doesn't have the size, power, or chin of Tyson Fury, and if Fury could only take one punch, it's hard to imagine Jake handling even that.
Just tells this story that Nikista's offering him the fight, but he's just not hearing it that way. Like, all right, you said you need help, and you called me, and I'm happy to help you, but you know what is it that I can do? So when Francis finally realizes it, he not only says no, he says he was offended. He said, Jake, you want me to bite Jake? Jake who? He said, Jake Paul. He said, that makes no sense. That's the last thing I would want to do right now. It's the last thing that I'm looking for. And, all right. Now that is a good and comical story. And I think that Jake Paul deserves a lot of credit for that. I would have really liked if that match would have gotten booked. I mean, I think that would just solve so many problems from a storyline perspective. And there's this story going on out there that it has to do with courage. Now, how you ever question a combat athlete's courage, I think, is hard. How you ever question a boxer's courage, right? Where you've only got two things you can do, and they're both involve bludgeoning. You can't even grab a hold of the guy or try to squeeze him. You can only bludgeon and be bludgeoned back. I think you're got an uphill battle to question somebody. But they have been very effective in doing just that to Jake. Hey, you start with this NBA guy, and then even those MMA guys, they're not boxers. And then when you got around to the boxers, but they weren't current boxers. Then when you get around to the current boxers, they're not big enough boxers. And I just loved it. When I heard that Francis Ngannou might be going against Jake, I loved it. I mean, what's that gonna look like? How many of those shots from Francis can you take? Tyson Fury, if you're talking clean, Tyson Fury only took one. Everything else, Tyson was able to roll with. Big Francis only had to hit him one time. That's a compelling story, in my opinion.
Francis Ngannou is not only heavier, but also vastly more powerful than anyone Jake Paul has ever faced. While Gervonta Davis is a lightweight fighter known for his explosive speed and timing, Ngannou is a heavyweight built on raw strength and knockout power. Analysts point out that if Jake truly wants to face Ngannou, he would need to completely overhaul his training camp. This would involve not only increasing his muscle mass, but also preparing his body to withstand punches from a man who weighs over 260 pounds. Jake would need to adjust everything, from footwork and endurance drills to his sparring sessions. Fighting a lightweight requires sharp reflexes and quick movement, but facing a heavyweight like Ngannou demands durability, balance, and pure strength. Experts agree that Jake can't treat this like another influencer boxing match. He would need months of specialized preparation under top boxing coaches.
Unique. It would be something incredible. It's the same reason that I would be intrigued by a Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, although I would never advise Jake Paul to take a Anthony Joshua fight. I wouldn't advise him to take a Francis Ngannou fight either, because as much as Anthony is far better, which we saw when they actually fought, Joshua slept Francis Ngannou quicker than me after 2 melatonin. I mean, it was quick, fast, in a hurry, completely dominant. But we also saw Francis Ngannou go toe-to-toe with the heavyweight champion of the world at that time. Yes, he was out of shape. We understand that. But Tyson Fury on that night got the shock of his life when Francis Ngannou not only went toe-to-toe, but put him down and danced on him. To this day, I think that fight could have gone Francis's way. Point being, there are levels to this shit. Not just in boxing, but in combat in general. And the size difference Francis would have over Jake would be incredible, but it would have been a great event, and a lot of people would have tuned in. Francis, though, is saying that's not happening.
How can they go from Gervonta Davis to Francis Ngannou? Gervonta Davis is a fantastic boxer, but and is a one-shot knockout artist. But come on, the weight different and everything, it makes no sense.
It's a good point. I mean, obviously, Francis is right about the weight difference, but it's a good point in general for what do you do next? Jake has sparred guys like Shakur Stevenson, Ray Ford, Montana Love to try to prepare for Tank Davis. And even if you book this fight on December 12th or December 19th, that's still a completely different fight than you were going into. Completely different matchup, size-wise, skill-wise. The things that you're going to need to even try to compete if it's someone like a Francis Ngannou or even an Andre Ward or whoever else. Not just the fight style is different, but the size is different.
Boxing analyst and former champion Tim Bradley reveals that the cancellation of the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight affected more than just the two fighters. According to Bradley, promoters, broadcasters, event organizers, and marketing partners all suffered significant financial losses due to the sudden end of the deal. The fight was expected to generate millions through pay-per-view sales and sponsorships. Bradley explains that Tank's legal issues and ongoing controversies forced networks and sponsors to back away, fearing potential damage to their brand reputations. Everyone involved had already invested money in promotion, production planning, and logistics, and now those investments are lost. Bradley says this situation highlights how fragile the business side of boxing can be. When a fighter's image gets tarnished, everyone who invested in the event ends up paying the price.
Tank, let's get on Tank real quick. You gotta be the dumbest dude I mean, in the history of boxing, bro. $40 million, dog, down the drain. You gotta be the dumbest dude I've ever seen in the history of boxing, bro. Seriously. I'm like, $40 million, bro. Wealth. Literally wealth, bro. Going down the drain. I don't understand it. I can't make the... I don't understand it. But I'll tell you this. You know, MVP promotions, whatever the hell y'all call it, most valuable promotions, shit, more like rookie promotions. Yeah, more like rookie promotions. You didn't know what you were dealing with. You had no clue. This has always been down Tank's alley, man. Now, let me just say one thing. You know, you innocent until proven guilty. Ain't no charges been pending on Tank at all. You know, but I'm just saying. This has always came up within the last few fights of Tank's career. Yeah, it has. And MVP, more like RP, rookie promotions. Yeah, y'all should have had a backup plan. You should have had a backup fighter. Yup. You live and you learn. Oh, absolutely. You live and you learn. You should have had a plan B. Just in case this man, Tank Davis, don't show up. Yeah. That's what you should have done. Now you're looking like idiots. You know, I heard through the grapevine the joint wasn't even selling. Yeah, because everybody's tired of your bull crap, Jake Paul. Yeah, everybody's tired of that. Wasn't nobody supporting that, man.
Daniel Cormier, the former UFC heavyweight champion, addresses the absurdity of Jake Paul calling out Francis Ngannou. He argues that boxing and MMA are two entirely different sports, each requiring its own set of skills, timing, and mental approaches. Cormier points out that Jake has never faced a professional boxer with real experience. Most of his opponents have been MMA fighters, celebrities, or retired athletes. Now Jake wants to face Ngannou, who, despite being an MMA fighter, recently went toe-to-toe with Tyson Fury and nearly beat him in a boxing ring. Cormier questions Jake's motives, suggesting it's more about publicity than genuine competition. He also notes that Jake underestimates what it takes to fight a heavyweight who can punch through gloves. In MMA, Ngannou's power is legendary, but in boxing, it becomes even more concentrated. Cormier warns that if Jake enters the ring with Francis without understanding the differences between MMA striking and boxing defense, it could be a very short night for him.
Right? Boxing is much different than mixed martial arts. The target audience might be the same, but the demographics different. The places where people are brought up are different. There's bigger entourages in boxing. It's just a different world in boxing. We've known that from the very beginning. We know that Gervonta Davis was not going to just play to Jake Paul's rules. I still don't know exactly why this thing is falling apart, but it is falling apart bad. It is bursting at the seams. We are almost exactly where we should have never started. This should have never gotten started, but it did. But we are almost now exactly where we need to be in the fight, and that's it being off. It being off. So, the CEO of Most Valuable Productions is a guy named Nikisa Badarian. He said, our team has worked closely with all parties to navigate the situation responsibly. While we will not be moving forward with this event, our plan still remains for Jake to headline on Netflix in 2025. Details regarding a new date, location, a new opponent, and additional bouts will be shared as soon as they are finalized. So, Gervonta Davis is out of the fight. Like I said, guys, we honestly should have never had a fight. We should have never had that fight even on the docket, but it was happening. You knew it had potential to be a nightmare. It turned out to be exactly what we...
MVP Promotions and Netflix have officially confirmed that the highly anticipated Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight has been canceled. While the Netflix event will still go ahead, a new opponent will be announced for Jake. Ariel Helwani commented that Netflix made a responsible and ethical decision by removing Tank from the lineup. He explained that the streaming platform could not promote a fighter currently facing multiple accusations of misconduct and mistreatment of women. Helwani further clarified that such controversies could have damaged the reputation of Netflix's first major boxing event. Instead, by considering alternatives like Francis Ngannou or Ryan Garcia, MVP and Netflix aim to keep the hype alive while avoiding endorsement of problematic behavior. The cancellation is a blow to both Tank's career and reputation, signaling that major organizations no longer want to be associated with his image until his legal issues are resolved.
10 or so most valuable promotions. The promotion co-founded by Jake Paul and Nikisa Bedarian posted this on social media. They posted that they were officially canceling the fight, saying most valuable promotions immediately initiated an investigation. No, I had the wrong one. Okay, I'm reading this one. Most valuable promotions and Netflix have announced that Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, the one I was reading was the one from late last week, originally scheduled for Friday, November 14th at the Kaseya Center in Miami, Florida, will no longer be moving forward. Quote, our team has worked closely with all parties to navigate this situation responsibly, said Nikisa Bedarian, CEO of MVP. While we will not be moving forward with this event, our plan remains for Jake Paul to headline an event on Netflix in 2025. And that is what I'm hearing as well. They want him to fight in December. That is the hope. And they're actively looking for a opponent. More on that in a moment. Details regarding a new date, location, Jake's opponent, and additional bouts will be shared as soon as they are finalized. We thank Netflix, Kaseya Center, Seminole Hard Rock and Hotel and Casino for their partnership. Then there's some information about, fans who purchase tickets. You can see all of this online. I did speak to Nikisa briefly, and I've seen some people say like, hey, and this was his take. Like, I asked him two questions, basically, like, did this have anything to do with the ticket sales? He said this was going to be a very, very successful event for them financially. And the other thing was like, Tank Davis has a checkered past. He had a checkered past when this fight was made. What changed? Well, obviously, 2 incidents, allegations, lawsuit. Since the fight was announced, they at the time felt like this was an opportunity for people to learn about who Tank Davis is, for him to show the world that he was a changed man, all this stuff and more. And that didn't happen, and they felt like they had to cancel the event. For the record, I feel like this was 100% the right call. You can't be a promotion that is so heavily invested in women's boxing and work with a guy who has allegations and lawsuits pending.
A growing question within the boxing community is why Gervonta Davis and his management have remained silent regarding the serious allegations made against him. Analysts argue that silence often creates the impression of guilt or avoidance. If Tank truly believes he's innocent, it's suggested that he or his legal team should have issued a statement directly addressing the accusations. This silence has only fueled public skepticism and led sponsors to withdraw their support. Commentators speculate that Tank's hesitation may be due to ongoing legal processes or advice from his lawyers to avoid discussing the matter publicly. However, this lack of transparency has severely damaged his reputation. Fans who once supported him are now questioning his integrity, and major networks are beginning to distance themselves.
Said, and it's really she said, because as of me recording the video, I haven't even heard Tank or his team respond to these said allegations, right? And some people will say, oh, but he has these allegations in the past. The last time I checked, we have Miranda rights. They say innocent until proven guilty, but we know, especially for black men in America, it's really the opposite. For most people, but definitely black people, right? It's guilty until proven innocent. Like, you have to prove that you didn't do what's being leveraged again. And this is not copping pleas for Gervonta Davis. This is merely the truth, right? These are allegations. And from a business perspective, I understand, and I've told you in the past, companies, big corporations and companies, S-corps and big companies that are worth billions and trillions, like Netflix, they are not trying to get their hands dirty. There's no one person that is perhaps big enough for them to ultimately mess up their money and allow basically allow a snowball effect in what they got going, right? They're not going for that.
Brendan Schaub reacts to Jake Paul's challenge to Francis Ngannou, calling it a circus act. He believes the matchup is even more unrealistic than the canceled Tank Davis versus Jake fight. Schaub points out that while Jake thrives on creating spectacles, this one might go too far. Ngannou is one of the most dangerous men on the planet, known for ending fights in seconds. Pitting him against a YouTuber turned boxer, Schaub argues, turns the sport into pure entertainment rather than real competition. He compares it to a mismatch designed solely for clicks and pay-per-view sales. Schaub acknowledges Jake's hustle and business mindset, but insists that some fights shouldn't happen, especially for safety reasons. In his view, Ngannou's power is too much for Jake, and the event would end up being a one-sided showcase rather than a legitimate sporting contest.
Versus Pacquiao, part 2.
Hate it.
It's like actually in the works.
Hate it.
2026, okay.
And Jake Paul's looking for a new opponent for Gervonta Davis, right?
Yep.
Gervonta Davis, dude, bud. Quit getting in fucking trouble, dude. How many times? You ever look at his rap sheet? What the fuck, dude?
He sent an offer to Ryan Garcia.
That'd be interesting. God, who the fuck's gonna take that on about a week's notice? Might be 2 weeks. Is it the 12th?
It's supposed to be the 14th.
Today's the 3rd. You have 11 days. To find a replacement, I've canceled Francis and Nate Diaz are 2 of the Francis?
That'd be ridiculous, obviously.
That would be awesome. The Nate Diaz would eat shit on there. They've already fought, and it still didn't do great. I mean, if Nate wants to get paid, get your bag, dog. I get it. Francis would be fucking wild. Oh, it says other names are Ryan Garcia. I could see him doing it. Terrence Crawford?
No way.
Francis is I'd love to see Francis Jake. If that bad boy's an actual...
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates as the story unfolds.